Hey everyone, today I'm going to be setting up my developer environment to do some game programming on live streaming here over the next however long I end up doing this. So today our main focus is to get a Windows terminal environment set up using PowerShell Core instead of the default installed PowerShell. Install a pretty looking environment for the terminal and then move on to getting Visual Studio and Unity and JetBrains Writer installed, the tools that I'm actually going to be using to make games with. So with that kind of outline set, let's dig in. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is actually get a package installer, which is a utility that lets us install applications and programs via the command line, which can be a powerful way to manage applications on a PC. Microsoft currently has a tool that'll do that. It's called WinGet, but it's still fairly new and it lacks some features like being able to install multiple packages at the same time, as well as a limited selection of packages to install from. So with that in mind, I'm actually going to be using a tool that's a little more mature that's called Chocolate. I'll go ahead and bring up the Chocolate website. This is a package manager for Windows, and it has just an absolute enormous amount of packages available for install. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get this installed, and it's actually fairly simple. There's a lot of text on this page, but in most cases you should be able to come down here to this command that it wants you to run, copy it, and open up a PowerShell instance as an administrator. Go ahead and drop that in and run it. Now it's going to install Chocolate, and that should be it. Now we can run commands like chocoh to get the help prompt and confirm that it's installed, and it is. So now that that's installed, we're going to use Chocolate to install several packages. So I'll go back here, and Chocolate provides a web-based interface for finding packages, so you know what commands like this here. To install Adobe Reader, you would type in chocoh install Adobe Reader. So we have 3 tools that we need to install using Chocolate right now. One of them is Windows Terminal, which actually ships by default in Windows 11, but we want to make sure we're currently and always using the most up-to-date version of the tool. The second thing is the PowerShell environment that we have here is the older one, and Microsoft is shipping a newer version of PowerShell, also known as PowerShell Core, and we want to install that through Chocolate as well. The final thing we're going to install is a special font that has support for what are known as ligatures, which are special characters that aren't normally in most font packages. And those allow for icons and such in text that aren't, like I said, normally supported by most normal fonts. So with that in mind, let's get started. So the first thing we want to find is the terminal app. So we're going to search for that. And this is the one that we want right here. So we're going to copy that and paste it in over here. And just going to type in yes, which will install it without any prompts to ask if I'm sure I want to install it, because I already am, I'm sure. So we've got Chocolate installing Windows Terminal here. And while that's finishing up, I'm going to search for PowerShell Core. Go ahead and copy that. done installing here. Oh. Interesting. Okay, so it got a little angry while installing Microsoft Terminal here. Let's go that up. See, the version that comes with Windows 11 right now, it's an older version of Terminal, and it wants you to do all the configuration via JSON configuration files. And the newer versions of Terminal do not have that limitation. So I think it's upset because I'm actually running this command in PowerShell. So what I'm going to do instead is go to the Windows Store and search for Terminal here and just go ahead and install that upgrade from here. Let's get installed. There we go. So now it's the latest version, and you can see now it has a settings section. And what we want to do is go ahead and change from the command prompt, the old default console application for Windows, to Windows Terminal. Go ahead and save that and close out here. You can see by default it's using the PowerShell environment, and Windows Terminal actually lets you select from a number of different shells. So we've got the PowerShell, we can run a command prompt, all from Windows Terminal. So that's pretty handy. But as you can see, we've got a pretty boring little command prompt here. So what we're going to do is make this look a little more interesting, and also provide some insights to the folders and stuff that we are currently in, such as if we're in a Git folder, what changes are in that folder. Are there any commits that are waiting to be pushed? Are there any changes waiting to be committed? That type of information at a glance in the command line prompt can be really useful. So that's one of the reasons why we're going this route. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and close this and open up PowerShell again as administrator. And make sure that's copied and install PowerShell core here. While that's installing, I'm going to go ahead and do a search for Cascadia Code Nerd Font. All right, looks like that was installed successfully. I'm going to go ahead and grab the Nerd Font and install that as well. Finally, the last piece that we'll need for this is a tool called Oh My Posh, which actually handles the beautification of our command prompt here. It's a special utility for that. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that and install that as well. Now, one of the nice things about Chocolate over Winget is you can install multiple packages in one command. So for these three that we've just installed, we could have just typed Chaco install and then listed out our 3 utilities. So an example of that would be if we wanted to install like Git and CMake, a tool for compiling, setting up builds for C++, and say 7-zip. Now it's going to install all 3 of these packages at once. That I'm going to go ahead and close out of this for now. You can see it's installed Git, and now it's moved on to CMake, and finally it's installing 7-zip, and it lets you know what all it installed. That's great. And then later on, when we want to update these packages, instead of going one at a time and installing the updates, going to a website, downloading the update and installing it, we can just run Chaco upgrade all, and it will actually go out and look at all of our packages that we've installed and make sure that they're up to date. So currently we just installed them, so of course they're all up to date. So that's great. One last thing, we want to make sure the Oh My Posh package installed and is available via the command line here. So let's actually bring up our terminal application and type in Oh My Posh. Okay, and you can see how it's dumped out, well, something that has colors in it at least. I wouldn't say this is a beautiful looking command prompt, but these weird symbols here indicate that the font that's currently being used doesn't support the special characters that Oh My Posh is trying to use. So to fix that, let's go to the settings here, and we're going to go ahead and change the default profile from Windows PowerShell to the new PowerShell, which is just called PowerShell. That should be fine. And then in our profile for PowerShell, we want to go to the Appearance tab where we can set the font to the Cascadia NF. Not sure exactly what the difference between NF Nerd Font is, but I've been using this one and it's successfully done what I needed to do. So go ahead and save that and open up a new command prompt here. Close that first one out. Now if I type in Oh My Posh, we can see that those special characters, now we've got a folder icon, a tilde icon, a command prompt, and so that's looking pretty good. So the next thing that we want to do is actually set up by default for this prompt to appear here. And to do that, what we want to do is open up our profile for PowerShell. And it's not happy about that. I think that's because we need to have a folder created. So I'll go into my view here, and I think it's in Documents. Yeah, and we need a folder that's just called PowerShell. This folder right here is for the profiles of the old Windows PowerShell, and we want to make our profile in the new one. So now if I run this, it's going to prompt us to actually save a profile file in that directory. I don't know why it can't create the directory by default, but hey. So now what we need to do is invoke Oh My Posh when in the profile so that it loads whenever we load up our PowerShell instance. And to do that, we are going to copy in a command here. and it's looking for themes in a theme directory, and I actually want to use a different theme than this default one. I want to use one called Paradox. So if I save that and dot profile to reload my profile, we can see there we go. We've got a nice looking little prompt there. One last thing that I want to do with the terminal before I move on is if I list out the directory, we can see we get a listing of all the folders and such that are in there. But what I'd actually like is to give these folders context-sensitive icons so that it just looks nicer in the command prompt environment. To do that, there's a utility called Terminal Icons. So if we pull up the Terminal Icons GitHub page, we can see we've got a way to install it. Go ahead and paste this in. It's going to install Terminal Icons. And then in our profile, we need to actually tell PowerShell to load this utility. So I'm going to go ahead and my first line, call that, tell it it's okay, save this and close it. Now if I do dot profile and then list out the directory, we can see now we've got these nice looking folders and they're context sensitive. So okay, now we've got a nice little terminal. I'm going to go ahead and park this right here in the taskbar. And looking good. Okay. So now whenever we want to run a terminal, just boom, there it is. And it's looking nice and pretty there. So okay, moving on to the next thing that I need for my developer environment, and that is the ability to run and build C# code. And I'd also like to be able to build C++ applications to do experimental programming, experimental projects as I'd like. And so to do that, we're going to install Visual Studio 2022. Just bring up download page for that and grab the community edition. That is perfectly fine for the needs that I have. I'll go ahead and open this up. Now the Visual Studio installer, there are so many tools that are bundled in with Visual Studio these days that, as you can see with the installer, it actually breaks out all of the different features of Visual Studio into different workloads. And a workload is just a subset of those features geared towards a specific activity, like desktop development of .NET applications. In this case, I want to be able to build desktop applications in .NET as well as C++. I'm definitely going to be doing some game programming, definitely in Unity, so I want to install this package, which will actually install the Unity Hub as well. So that's nice. And then tools for game development in C++ as well. And then finally, I'd like to be able to do some testing in the WSL Windows subsystem for Linux in Windows. So I want to do Linux development as well. So I've got all of these workloads that I plan on using checked, and I can go ahead and install those. Right, while that's downloading and installing, I'm going to grab a couple other packages real quick. One of them is Visual Studio Code, which is a great little code editor. It's like a lightweight version of Visual Studio. It's not quite an IDE, but once you install a number of the plugins, extensions that it has available to it, it can feel pretty close to an IDE. So I'm going to grab that. Support for just a ton of different languages, including all of the ones that I'm interested in. So I'll go ahead and download that and get that installed as well. And I want to be able to right click on directories and open them up as projects directly within VS Code. So I'm going to check these two options here and then go ahead and install. See Visual Studio at 26% now. A lot of different packages, so it takes a minute for that. All right, we've installed Visual Studio Code and it is started up, so that's great. Go ahead and close that. Finally, I want to install a C# code editor that I found works really well with Unity development, and it really helps with code completion, with refactoring of code. There's just a lot of tools built into this editor, and that is JetBrains Writer. Can't say enough good things about this IDE since I started using it about a month ago. I'm gonna go ahead and download that. Now, JetBrains Writer, unlike all of the other tools that I've installed so far, is not a free utility. It does require a subscription to their service. So if you don't want that, you can use Visual Studio by default for Unity development or VS Code. Both of those are free options. In my case, I really enjoy Writer, so I'm going to be installing and using that. And I actually have a license for that currently. So if you are a student like I am currently, then you can actually get a free license for Writer. So students that are watching this and following along with me, I'll probably bring this up in most streams where I mention Writer and am speaking to its praises. You can get Writer for free while you are in school, so keep that in mind. Right, getting Writer and Visual Studio installed, that's great. I think that's all we need for here for now. Let these tools finish installing. And then once Visual Studio is installed, it will have installed the Unity Hub, which is a launching platform for launching projects created in Unity, as well as installing the actual Unity environment. So. It's done with the installations here. Then once I get this environment set up, tomorrow I will be back for my first actual game programming stream, and that should be a fun adventure. I'm still learning, and thought it'd be a great experience to bring people along and see what that process looks like as far as developing and getting started with game development. I am coming from a programming background, so I do have experience with it. But as far as creating games from start to finish, that's still a new process for me. And I think it would be useful for other people to see that whole experience from beginning to end, and all of the mistakes that get made, and how, more importantly, after a mistake is made, how to find a solution to those problems. So for Visual Studio, I'm not going to create an account. Maybe I'll do that later. The dark theme is just fine, and I'm going to go ahead and leave it at the general environment. Now that the installer is done, I can go ahead and close out of that. And there's Visual Studio, the project creation prompt. So with that out of the way, Visual Studio installed, I'll close that. Now continue on with launching JetBrains Writer. I'm not going to send statistics right now. All right. So for JetBrains, I need to log in, I think. Not just yet though, so I'm going to skip the import, use that theme, use that theme, use the Visual Studio Code Map. .NET is already installed. The Unity plugin that I'll need is installed by default. And I don't think we need any of these, so go ahead and start using JetBrains Writer. And now is where it's going to ask to log in to a JetBrains account or to start a trial. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my account information here, hide my screen while I do that. I have successfully activated my license. Up the screen again. All right, so we've got the license installed. It's my education license. So I'll go ahead and exit here, and that will launch JetBrains Writer. Maybe. All right, so now that's JetBrains Writer is ready to use. So the last step here, we need to get Unity installed. Don't have a license installed at the moment. Go ahead and update the Unity Hub here. All right, now it wants me to sign in to Unity, so I'm going to go ahead and hide my screen again real quick while I get signed in to Unity. All right, now after logging in, you'll be prompted with this new feature section. And now it's going to ask me to install a Unity editor. I'm going to go ahead and skip this installation for now because I actually want to use a newer version of Unity than the one that it's prompting here. So I will skip. I'll get the personal license. Should be fine for now. Install, and I want this version right here, the 2021 version. Don't need Visual Studio 2019 because I've already installed Visual Studio, so leaving the documentation there, that is fine, and I'll go ahead and install. It's Unity Hub 3. This is new, so this actually looks a little nicer than the previous version. Hopefully it doesn't take a million years to install Unity like the old version did, but we'll see here. Yeah, sync and deploy. That's the key to all programming is sync and then you deploy. That's how it goes. There's no argument. All right, getting through this final leg of our setup here. Unity tends to take longer than just about anything else to install, but after that we're pretty much set up and ready to go with creating games. That should be an interesting adventure that I start tomorrow at approximately 3 p.m. Eastern. Okay, yeah. See, this is the fun part. Oh, moving along now. Just watching that progress bar. That's probably the most fun thing that you can do on a stream is watch a progress bar. I'm not sure there's any more exciting task for a viewer. Okay, so it's download. Oh, now it's installing. Sync and deploy. Definitely liking this setup a little better than the first test stream that I did. I think the audio levels here and the capture environment is working pretty well, and hopefully I've taken care of issues that I had with the development PC virtual machine that I'm working with crashing on me. That was very frustrating at the end of that first stream. So we'll see if we can get through this last piece now without a crash. No. Now for the installation, we can't actually see the progress, but we can just see this fun little bar go across the screen where, you know, we can pretend where the progress meter is. No actual indication of how long it's going to take, but it's a fun little guessing game. Maybe we can run a little contest. See which of you can guess how long it's going to take and get the closest. Enjoying the sliding. I put a blue light behind. No, it's back here. Blue light behind me, which I think balances out the red just a little bit. But my face doesn't seem as washed out with red this go around, so that's good. 2 minutes. That's close. Maybe a minute and a half. Oh, Unity. I don't know how much time I've wasted watching Unity installs go. And when you're not using the long-term service branch of Unity, there's like a new release once every 2 or 3 weeks. And when you're trying to keep on top of all of the new changes, installing these versions, it takes up so much time. And then you end up with like 4 or 5 different Unity installations. It's wonderful, but hopefully they get their next long-term service release out soon, and I'll switch to that. Oh, the icon installed. We're getting so close. Oh, wow. If you think this is exciting, You should catch the upcoming live streams with my brother and myself as we go on the road to champion in Rocket League. We are just, to say we're experts is really kind of an understatement. But well, I'll just say it. We're the best. We're the best around. Nothing's ever going to keep us down. So check out those live streams coming up soon. Fun stuff. Just Two Bros. Yeah. Not on this channel though. We still have to get that channel set up. But very soon. Road to Champ. Best there is. Absolutely. Best there was. We're not even has-beens. Oh, we've completed the installation of Unity 2021.2.7F1. Amazing. Manage our license here. I thought I added a license. Maybe not, maybe. Oh. I both of these things are true. All right, let's just go ahead and close out of the Unity Hub real quick. Open it up and make sure. Yeah, exactly 2 minutes ago. You are the winner of my first book. It's called Sync and Deploy, a developer story. Let's get the license. I want it. Give it to me. Unity seems to be having trouble with adding a license. I wonder if it'll let me go ahead and start a new project. Nope. It's like, no, you can't. Well, that's no fun. I'm a student. Maybe they'll give me a free license. To check that out. Being a student is great. Loads of free utilities for student developers out there. If you're trying to use a tool and it is a paid tool and you're a student, definitely look into getting a free copy of something. I wonder if it's going to let me install, because I actually have a license for Unity. I wonder if it'll let me install that. Get my license key real quick here. Unity, why are you such a pain? Okay, so I'm gonna hide my screen real quick so I don't broadcast my my Unity key out to everybody. No one wants to see that, I'm sure, or maybe you do. I don't want you to see that. Looks like there's a problem with Unity at the moment. It is not liking my license key either. So I guess that is that for the moment. Without the ability to set up a license, you know, you can't really do anything at all with Unity here. So that's no good. Have to do some troubleshooting there. Maybe they've got an issue with their license server. because it looks like they just pushed out this new Unity Hub 3 today. Maybe it's something with that. So I will check into that. But for now, that's all of the utilities that I need for game programming installed, and then an environment, nice clean environment, ready to go for tomorrow's first actual game programming stream. So thank you for watching along. I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.